Welcome back to the Operation Freedom YouTube channel. What we do here is shine the light of truth on the deep state. They hate that. We do it figuratively with our presentations. We do it literally with our sponsor's product, PatriotLegacy.com. PatriotLegacy.com, featured product of theirs, the Patriot Beacon. 6 overall lighting functions. In addition, solar powered, don't need batteries. You can charge your other devices like your phone from it. In addition, you got a compass, you got a window breaking hammer, and you got a seatbelt cutter. Plus, if those deep state dweebs get just a little bit too close to you, blast them with this. They're gone. Go to patrioticlegacy.com, patrioticlegacy.com. Get yourself, your kids, your grandkids, your car. Can carry it with you anytime. patrioticlegacy.com, the Patriot Beacon. The attorneys go on. The first article also fails on the facts because President Trump has not in any way abused the powers of the presidency. At all times, the president has faithfully and effectively executed the duties of his office on behalf of the American people. The president's actions on July 25, 2019 telephone call with President Vladimir Zelensky of Ukraine, as well as on the earlier April 21, 2019 telephone call, and in all surrounding and related events were constitutional, perfectly legal, completely appropriate, and taken in furtherance of our national interests. President Trump raised the important issue of burden sharing on the July 25th call, noting that other European countries such as Germany were not carrying their fair share. President Trump also raised the important issue of Ukrainian corruption. President Zelensky acknowledged these concerns on that same call. Despite House Democrats having run an entirely illegitimate and one-sided process, several simple facts were established that proved the president did nothing wrong. First, the transcript of both the April 21st call and July 25th call make absolutely clear that the president did nothing wrong. Second, President Zelensky and other Ukrainian officials have repeatedly confirmed that the call was good and normal and that there were no quid pro quo and no one pressured them on anything. Third, the 2 individuals who have stated for the record that they spoke to the president about the subject actually exonerate him. Ambassador to the European Union Gordon Sondland stated that when he asked the president what he wanted from Ukraine, the president said, quote, "I want nothing, I want nothing, I want no quid pro quo," end quote. Senator Ron Johnson reported that when he asked the president whether there was any connection between security assistance and investigations, the president responded, quote, "No way, I would never do that," end quote. House Democrats ignore these facts and instead rely entirely on assumptions, presumptions, and speculation from witnesses with no first-hand knowledge. Underline, no first-hand knowledge. Their accusations are founded exclusively on inherently unreliable hearsay that would never be accepted in any court in any country. Fourth, the bilateral presidential meeting took place in an ordinary course and the security assistance was sent, all without the Ukrainian government announcing any investigation. And by the way, that assistance, that Ukrainian assistance, 4 of the 7 impeachment managers voted against that assistance, by the way. Let's go on. Not only does the evidence collected by House Democrats refute each and every one of the factual predicates underlying the first article, the transcripts of the April 21st call and July 25th call disprove what the article alleges. When House Democrats realized this, Mr. Schiff created a fraudulent version of the July 25th call and read it to the American people at a congressional hearing without disclosing that he was simply making it all up. The fact that Mr. Schiff felt the need to fabricate a false version of the July 25th call proves he and his colleagues knew there was absolutely nothing wrong with that call. House Democrats ran a fundamentally flawed and illegitimate process that denied the president every basic right, including the right to have counsel present, the right to cross-examine witnesses, and the right to present evidence. Despite all this, the information House Democrats assembled actually disproves their claims against the president. The president acted at all times with full constitutional and legal authority and in our national interest. He had continued his administration's policy of unprecedented support for Ukraine, including the delivery of lethal military aid that was denied to the Ukrainians by the prior administration. Again, and 4 of the 7 House impeachment managers voted against it as well. The first article is therefore constitutionally invalid. founded on falsehoods and must be rejected. The second article, the obstruction of Congress. The second article also fails on its face to state an impeachable offense. It does not allege any crime or violation of law whatsoever. To the contrary, the president's assertion of legitimate executive branch confidentiality interests grounded in the separation of powers cannot constitute obstruction of Congress. First time in our country's history, the president released the transcript of a phone call with another world leader. He released it the minute this issue was raised. How can there be obstruction of Congress when he released the smoking gun document that showed that there was no quid pro quo? They go on. Further, the notion that President Trump obstructed Congress is absurd. President Trump acted in extraordinary and unprecedented transparency by declassifying and releasing the transcript of the July 25th call that is the heart of the matter. Following the president's disclosure of the July 25th call transcript, House Democrats issued a series of unconstitutional subpoenas for documents and testimony. They issued their subpoenas without a congressional vote and therefore without constitutional authority. They sought testimony from a number of president's closest advisors despite the fact that under long-standing bipartisan practice of prior administrations of both political parties and similarly long-standing guidance from the Department of Justice, those advisors are absolutely immune from compelled testimony before Congress related to their official duties. And they sought testimony disclosing the executive branch's confidential communications and internal decision-making process on matters of foreign relations and national security, despite the well-established constitutional privileges and immunities protecting such information. As the Supreme Court has recognized, the president's constitutional authority to protect the confidentiality of executive branch information is at its apex in the field of foreign relations and national security. House Democrats also barred the attendance of executive branch counsel at witness proceedings, thereby preventing the president from protecting important executive branch confidentiality interests. Notwithstanding these abuses, the Trump administration replied appropriately to these subpoenas and identified their constitutional defects. Tellingly, House Democrats did not seek to enforce these constitutionally defective subpoenas in court. To the contrary, when one subpoena recipient sought a declaratory judgment as to the validity of the subpoena he had received, House Democrats quickly withdrew the subpoena to prevent the court from issuing a ruling. Judge Napolitano talk about that? Or Morning Joe? Or Anderson Cooper? Or Rachel Maddow? You bet they didn't. The House may not usurp executive branch authority and may not bypass our Constitution's system of checks and balances. Asserting valid constitutional privileges and immunities cannot be an impeachable offense. Conclusion. The articles of impeachment violate the Constitution. They are defective in their entirety. They are the product of invalid proceedings that flagrantly denied the president any due process rights. They rest on dangerous distortions of the Constitution that would do lasting damage to our structure of government. In the first article, the House attempts to seize the president's power under Article 2 of the Constitution to determine foreign policy. In the second article, the House attempts to control and penalize the assertion of executive branch's constitutional privileges, while simultaneously seeking to destroy the framers' systems of checks and balances. By approving the articles, the House violated our constitutional order, illegally abused its power of impeachment, and attempted to obstruct President Trump's ability to faithfully execute the duties of his office. They sought to undermine his authority under Article 2 of the Constitution, which vests the entirety of the executive power in the President of the United States of America. In order to preserve our constitutional structure of government, to reject the poisonous partisanship that the framers warned against, to ensure one-party political impeachment vendettas do not become the new normal, and to vindicate the will of the American people, the Senate must reject both articles of impeachment. In the end, this entire process is nothing more than a dangerous attack on the American people themselves and their fundamental right to vote. Jay Sekulow, Pat Cipollone. You needed to hear that. The bought-off lamestream fake media will never present that information, will never present that in that letter. This impeachment hoax is a goat rodeo. And it's about undoing the will of the American people from the 2016 election. I believe it's going to backfire, and it already has on the deep state, but it's even going to be a bigger backfire. I believe it's going to lead to the re-election of Donald Trump in 2020. It's going to lead to the Republicans holding the Senate in 2020, and I believe it will lead to the House of Representatives flipping back to the Republicans. Hopefully this time, those in power in the House and those in power in the Senate will get it done, rather than blocking the president's agenda, an anti-globalist agenda. Hopefully, this time, they will get it right. I hope you'll join us on our radio show every Sunday from 2 to 5 Eastern. Stream it live at davejanda.com. I hope you'll become a member of our Freedom family by becoming a subscriber at davejanda.com. I believe it's one of the biggest bangs for the buck in all the internet. You get our WTF show, geopolitical show, our Insider Insight show where we bring guests forward. This week we're bringing Bill Binney and Kirk Wiebe forward, two of the most outstanding, foremost experts in surveillance platforms. Guests that you'll never see in the bought-off lamestream fake media. Why? Because these guests are fighting against the deep state 24/7. Until next time, Dave Janda signing off. Dream big and dare to fail. Thank you for your time today.